So, what are the benefits of mindful breathing? Well, focusing on the breath increases awareness to the present moment. And since mindfulness is all about being in the present, focusing on your breath is probably one of the best ways that you can help practice and bring yourself into this one moment. Also, deliberately slowing the breath calms the nervous system, quiets the mind, and lowers your heart rate. And so, with all these combined, it helps regulate intense emotions, because as we slow our breath, it creates a whole system response, which is what happens when we experience emotions. When we experience emotions, it's a full body response. So if we can change our breath in response to an emotion, we can also push ourselves towards being more likely to change that emotion if it's one that we want to change, or to accept it, or to just have more ability to respond to it in a broader manner. Now, before we get started with our mindfulness task, let's prepare for mindful breathing. You want to go ahead and get seated comfortably, upright, with your back relatively straight but comfortable, with your feet flat on the floor. You want to rest your palms either lying upward or downward on your thighs, just gently. Keep your eyes open, looking slightly down at a single spot. Some people debate over whether eyes should be opened or closed, but when I attended a mindfulness training with Marsha Linehan, I made a point to ask her about this question, and she said, well, since mindfulness is about living with your eyes wide open, it's best to practice mindfulness with your eyes open. The one exception to the rule where you might not use your eyes open is if we're doing a relaxation technique, or maybe imagery techniques. But otherwise, keep your eyes open. Now, when you set about going on your breathing cycle, you want to start by inhaling slowly and deeply through your nose. And when you breathe in deeply, rather than like filling up your lungs, push out your stomach so you're filling up your stomach like it's a balloon. I know this might seem kind of counterintuitive for, those of us who like to suck in and look thin, but you want to breathe with your diaphragm, and when you breathe into your belly, you get a lot deeper, fuller breath. So inhale slowly and deeply through your nose into your belly, fill your belly, then pause naturally as soon as you fill your lungs as full as possible. Then exhale slowly and deeply through your nose also. And then you want to push the air out of your belly and flatten your belly as you're exhaling. And then when you've totally expelled all of the air, you want to pause naturally again, and then repeat the cycle. Now, in dialectical behavior therapy skills training groups, we always start with a mindfulness task. So this will be your introduction to mindfulness tasks. So the first mindfulness task that we're going to do is an introduction to paced breathing. As you begin paced breathing, try to lengthen your inhale and exhale with each breath. So if you take a deep breath, pause, and breathe out. Each time you breathe in and breathe out, try to breathe in just a little bit farther and breathe out just a little bit farther. So you're lengthening your breath, which works to slow your breath. And you want to slow that breath into a comfortable, steady rhythm. So if you're inhaling and you're you want it to be steady and even. So instead of going, you want to do it more even, like, so that there's this even, continuous, and steady, and you're trying to gain control over your breath. And then as we go on to practice the mindfulness task, there'll be a graphic you can follow. You don't have to try to match it exactly. Just use it as a guide of how long you would like to get your breaths to be. But use it as a reference, and don't try to match it. Follow your own wise mind and your own body, and use it just as a guide to see of how to lengthen it. So as we get started, we're going to ring the mindfulness bell 3 times to start the practice. And then while we're practicing, you're going to go ahead and follow the instructions I just gave you. And then when we finish the practice, we will go ahead and ring the mindfulness bell 1 time. And while we're practicing, it'll be silent. Now, as you complete the mindfulness practice, just notice what your thoughts and what your feelings are right now about the practice, and just make a mental note of it. Was it pleasant? Was it unpleasant? Were there intrusive thoughts? Just make a note of what your experience was in practicing the mindfulness.